Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today we have Mr. Jonathan Price with us, Chairman at Yanda. How are you, Jonathan, today?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you, Ilaria. It's nice and sunny today, so nice to have a blue sky and some sunshine, even if it's quite cold outside.
I know, we had a little bit of snow in UK too. That wasn't very pleasant for me. So today's topic will be the blockchain technology. Let's start with the first question for you. We have heard a lot about blockchain and Bitcoin over the last few years, but I'm not sure what are these applications for blockchain in real life. Can you give me an example?
Yeah, it's certainly true that in the last few years, there's been a huge amount of hype about blockchain. Many people said that blockchain was going to revolutionize the world. It would be the second internet, the greatest technological development since the internal combustion engine. But all of these things were just hype. And often when the reality doesn't live up to the hype, people get disappointed and disillusioned. And there are quite a few voices around, like Nouriel Roubini, for example, over in New York, who doubts that blockchain will ever be useful for anything. So it's interesting to have a look to see where blockchain technology has actually been put to use and to think about where it might be most interesting in the future. Now, having done some research myself, I've encountered practical real-world uses for blockchain in two quite different areas of activity. One is international trade, which might well be a suitable topic to talk about in a future video. But the one I'd like to talk about today is in real estate, the use of blockchain in real estate. I think that's something that's quite significant.
Yeah, it's very actually interesting to hear that blockchain can be used in the real estate industry. Can you explain to me why blockchain could be useful in this property business?
Yeah, blockchain is potentially really useful in property and real estate because the real estate industry suffers from a number of real challenges and issues which adversely affect the efficiency of the market. For example, the real estate industry lacks transparency to quite a high degree, and this can be seen from the fact that quite a high percentage of the black money in the world, that is to say the proceeds of crime or corruption, ends up invested in real estate. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime produces an estimate on the amount laundered through real estate each year, and their estimate is that it's 1.6 trillion US dollars. So it's a really massive amount of money. And of course, this money never gets taxed, so it's a loss to the country as concerned. Apart from transparency, another problem that real estate suffers from is a very high level of fees. Because a number of professional intermediaries are involved in any real estate transaction, and each of them has their own fee to charge, it ends up costing the participants in the transaction quite a lot in terms of friction because of all the fees that have to be paid. Most of these transactions are also still carried out on the basis of paper documents, which leads to quite a slow transaction speed. So the buying and selling pieces of property takes a long time, and this creates a distinct lack of liquidity in the market. So you have a lack of liquidity, you can't buy and sell assets quickly, you have a slow transaction speed, you have high fees, and if you want to invest in property, it requires a really high capital commitment. If you want to buy a building or if you want to develop a new building, it's a lot of money up front, which means that it's out of reach of all but the richest institutional investors. And so there's no way really at the moment for small and retail investors to get involved in investing in particular buildings or developments if they want to. So all of these are particular issues, and there's clearly potential for blockchain to help at least some and possibly all of these issues through the processes called tokenization and smart contracts.
That's quite interesting. Are there any specific examples of companies using blockchain today in the real estate world?
Yes, there are. If we take the transparency problem to start with, one of the key players in any property market anywhere in the world is the government agency responsible for registering property titles. In the United Kingdom, that's Her Majesty's Land Registry. And the Land Registry has had a 5-year plan underway since 2017, so should come to fruition next year in 2022. And that 5-year plan includes an initiative that they call the Digital Street. And their aim is to introduce a new type of electronic registry from next year, which will incorporate the use of blockchain as the means of storing title to all registered property in the United Kingdom. Almost all property is registered these days, and the number increases every year. And their belief is that storing the details of each property on a blockchain will produce a number of efficiencies and make life much more secure. And it will also reduce the potential for fraud, because we have suffered, as many countries have, from real estate fraud, people fraudulently transferring properties that don't belong to them, or fraudulently applying for mortgage loans from properties which they don't own, or for which the value has been exaggerated considerably. So the government is perhaps in the lead in using or thinking about using the blockchain technology for land registration. Now, in terms of tokenization, this is a process whereby a large asset, such as a building or a portfolio of buildings, is broken down into investment units that are within the scope of individual investors to buy. So in other words, if you own a building, you can list it on an exchange where the investment is broken down into small manageable units, allowing individual investors to buy shares in that particular asset. This is the process of tokenization. Now, in the UK, we have a new stock exchange which has been created in the past couple of years called IPSX. And this stock exchange is focused entirely on the tokenization of real estate assets. Now, they had a significant development in October last year, when the first major property development applied to be listed on the exchange. And it's a building that I'm sure you're really familiar with, because it's not far from where you live. It's the mailbox development in the center of Birmingham. That is due for redevelopment, and the owners are looking to raise money to help fund this by listing it on the IPSX. So if the IPSX succeeds in attracting other real estate assets, other owners onto it, it will be a really big step forward. So that's tokenization. The other thing I mentioned was smart contracts. Smart contracts is a facility that developers can use, which can be built on top of the Ethereum protocol, which allows legally binding contracts to be executed without need for human involvement. The way it works is that you set up the code of the contract in advance, so that when specific conditions occur, then the contract self-executes. And this can be used in real estate if a smart contract were programmed to expect the deposit, for example, of certain specific documents in the specific format. Once they had occurred, then the smart contract could operate to implement the next stage of the transaction automatically without waiting for the human involvement. So that could make transactions much faster than at present, and reduce the need for so many intermediaries, and also reduce the fees which are being charged, which slow down the transactions.
Very interesting. Thank you. Thank you very much. I have no more questions for you. Would you like to add anything to the call?
Yeah, I think I should probably mention a couple of private sector businesses which seem to be making good progress in using blockchain in real estate. One of them is called a Property Club, which is a real estate platform that uses blockchain to refine the way that people market and search for and buy and sell investment in properties. And their aim is to conduct the whole real estate transaction digitally using cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or its own Property Club coin. Another one, which is interesting, is in the field of rental property. This one is called ManageGo. This is a ledger-backed software program which aims to help property managers and owners process payments and complete credit background checks and manage maintenance schedules and all those kind of things that landlords have to do vis-a-vis their tenants. So you can see that could make the business of rental properties much easier. And a final one, which deserves a mention, I think, is called Smart Realty. Smart Realty uses smart real estate contracts to enact and maintain property purchase and rental agreements. So the idea is that you could go onto this platform either as a landlord or a renter or a buyer and have all the legal work for the transaction that you want to do done by means of smart contracts at a fixed fee and considerably cheaper and quicker than you would have if you did it the traditional way using lawyers. So you can see, actually, there's quite a lot going on in the world of real estate. And I think this may be one of the leading fields for blockchain applications in the future, and certainly one that it's worth having a look at every few months to see how things are getting on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. I'm pretty sure everyone appreciates that. And thank you again. And I guess I will see you in the next video.
Yeah. Okay. See you next time then, Ilaria. Bye now.
You guys. Bye-bye.